Okay, I really have to do this video. This is a shout out of sorts. You all kind of noticed the black eye right here? Yeah, I kid you not, this is real. It's 100% real. It looks like, uh, that black face paint the football players use. Somebody told me it was like boot polish, but I doubt that. Anyway, uh, and it actually came from me being kicked in the face by this fat guy. The fat guy who helped Nathan Lilly jump me. So it turns out, it was horrible. I went through so much of an effort, like, to let this kid hurt me, to show that he had the malicious intent to attack me, and it wasn't him, but it was actually his buddy who did the damage. I just stood there and let him beat the crap out of me, and that's horrible. He, like, busted my lip, but, I mean, there's really nothing much to show for it. Anyway, what gets funny about this is that I wrote a letter to Lieutenant Deeds of the West Virginia State Police Professional Standards. I outlined a great deal of information, including how the Lillys were married into the Jennings family, how Daryl Lilly was married to Michelle Jennings, the daughter of Mary Jennings, and is a close associate of Bobby Redden, Ashley Redden's dad, and Rodney Wayne Kirk, Leah Kirk's father, and how they're tied into all this criminal activity together. Well, I also mentioned on there a list of informants that I knew that operated and did things for the police that engaged in their criminal behavior or helped with their criminal behavior. So the cops were out here helping these criminals do their thing. And I mentioned all these people. Now, I want you to bear in mind, a lot of this really comes down to, I don't know, just bad luck, I guess, or maybe it's foresight, or maybe it's the fact that they're actually proving me right. This is the bad part. They're proving me they're right on these criminal associations. All right, now, I was attempted to be ambushed, assaulted. It's been multiple times they've tried this, but there's particularly 5 that stand out. All right, now one of these, my mentioned on this little snitch list was my ex-girlfriend Amanda Brewer, and Daryl James Lilly, DJ Lilly. Now, he used Amanda's friend Jessica to lure me to Jessica's house with this whole thing about Amanda being upset and everything, so that him and Jessica's husband could jump me. The only thing about it was, he just didn't have the stones to do what needed to be done, so instead of actually attacking me, he kind of backed down. Then after that, Amanda Brewer and, again, DJ, and this fat drug dealer named Jerome. That's already been put on the internet. There'll be a little thing up here that'll link to that video, so you can see it all. Then there was an attempt made using Rachel Farmer. That was also on the video. Now, as far as I was aware, Rachel had no prior association with DJ or Amanda or any of these people. So when she got involved, it was kind of a little bit of a shock to me, but again, her name was on that snitch list I already put out. And then here's another person who came up on that. Numerous attempts were made by Sarah Dean LaRue. Now, Dean's her maiden name, LaRue's her married name. I think she went back to Dean, but I'm not sure. Anyway, she made numerous attempts to find out where I was at and what I was doing and who I was with and everything else. Finally, one night, I was drinking at my friend's house. And while we were drinking, Sarah was talking to someone on the phone, and then she says, because I guess she thought I was stoned or so drunk that I didn't know what was going on around me. Instead, I just sat there quietly and observed. It's amazing how when people think you're like plastered, how they do things and say things around you without realizing that, without taking anything into consideration. And what happened was, well, Sarah's on the phone talking to someone. She says, well, now's the perfect time to get him. Here's your shot. And this person said something, and Sarah repeats them. She was almost bored with it. She was wanting them to come in there and attack me. And she was like, yeah, I know, revenge is a dish best served cold, and yeah, payback's a bitch. Now, this is shit that Daryl and DJ and Nathan are always hollering. Trying to sound intelligent. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Payback's a bitch. I mean, all of this is movie lines. I mean, really, seriously, that's what I'm dealing with. People who watch movies and the only thing they can do is spout movie lines. Oh, dear God. Anyway, the day after all this occurs, when they know that I'm going to be back at Mike's, I go down, and here's Jessica Lilly staking out a bench on the bike trail. And, you know, I see her running across the street real quick, and I just kind of ignored her because I didn't know, I wasn't sure if it was her. It looked like she gained some weight. And then right after that, Nathan and this fat guy come running up to me in the train tunnel. And Nathan was sitting there trying to talk to me, get me to open my mouth and run my mouth. And for any of you who've seen my self-defense videos, you know I'm always talking about this as a tactic used by a lot of criminals to get you so caught up on talking that you're not paying attention, then they sucker punch you. So finally, I just started talking shit so he would be able to sucker punch me. And he swung, I ducked, went into a waist clinch. I caught him. I let him get a headlock on me, and it wasn't really what you would call a headlock. He was just kind of like this around the top of my head, and he was just punching me on top of the head, which really didn't do anything until, it was just me pushing him from one side and him pushing me from the other and him hitting me, and that was really it. I tried hitting him a couple of times. There was a very good possibility I could have went for a Kuroshi no Kata shoulder killing technique, but I didn't. I just went ahead and let him keep swinging at me to show his malicious intent. Instead, the big fat guy comes up, hits me, I hit the ground. Nathan kicks me in the face. The fat guy kicks me in the face, which is actually what gave me this and this, from where he kicked me in the face. It's a big 200-300-pound animal. And it's really funny because it's the same big fat guy who's in the video, the picture that was taken with Nathan and my ex Amanda and DJ and Jessica and all of them in one big group. So I guess they're showing me they're a gang. Okay, you're an idiot, but whatever. It doesn't matter because Grandmommy's a magistrate and she covers for you. And like you say, you have family that are cops and they cover for you, which is why I'm having this whole issue of fighting with the Beckley police concerning getting the video of the assault or whatever in what used to be the train tunnels on a bike trail, on the rails for trails where they took up the actual train tracks that went through town and put down a bike trail. Now, the funny thing about this is that there's video right there, and the cops are giving me all these excuses, and there's actually a recording of me and Captain Rogers where I'm giving him down the road about this, and you can hear him. He's not happy, and I mentioned Robert Kelly. Robert Kelly is the IP guy for the Beckley Police Department. He's the one who gets the stuff off the computers and downloads the files and checks the video and stuff like that. The fire department actually monitors, has someone actively looking at a monitor in the tunnel to see, I'm sorry, I was looking at something down here, to see what's going on. But all the information and everything else is dealt with through the Beckley Police Department. They go through this guy, Robert Kelly. My lawyer found this guy. We got a subpoena on him because he was, because of Nathan threatening me about the train tunnel. And this whole thing about YouTube and everything else. He doesn't like it when I put up YouTube videos. He didn't like it when I showed that there's this big connection between Mary Jennings, Trooper Duckworth, the Kirks and the Reddens, and even the Lillies all tied into it. Well, now he's already made that connection stronger by acting like a pathetic little child, throwing a temper tantrum and trying to beat my ass. Now, I let two guys attack me and beat the crap out of me for a reason. And yes, the injuries were worth it. And there's more than just a little black eye here. Or a little bit of a busted lip that I had. And to be honest, I mean, come on. Anyone who's done any contact, martial arts, any contact sports, football, hell, even wrestled in high school, let alone boxing or any type of contact karate, a black eye, a hit to the face, it happens. It's not a big deal. But the fact that he actually used a weapon, he had fist loads, used a lighter in one hand to harden his fist. It's a little street secret. And then the other hand had like a bolt or something in it. Well, what you get is the fact that, He was using weapons. He had the malicious intent to do me bodily harm. And now the Beckley police are covering up for it. And again, I ended up talking to the same guy, Captain Rogers. For those of you who see my other videos, you're familiar with it. This is the same guy I had to talk to when I was going through the stuff with Stewart and Capehart. And for those of you who don't know, believe it or not, Stewart and Capehart actually got medals for finding new and inventive ways to catch criminals. You mean frame people and set them up and falsify evidence against them. And so there's a little bit more to this. I have a few statements I'm going to make to Captain Rogers before this video airs, so there'll be footage added, and I'm going to go talk to Emmett Pugh about this matter. Believe it or not, I could potentially sue the city of Beckley for up to $5 million. $1 million for each case of this situation with Stewart and Capehart trying to harass me, frame me, and everything else, which is a deprivation of my civil rights under color of law. I can sue Captain Rogers for being an accessory to the fact of this, and actually going out of his way to cover up the evidence of corruption and everything else, and trying to paint them out to be heroes by giving them medals for violating my civil rights, which is actually encouraging them. And believe it or not, under the Organized Criminal Enterprise Act, or the Organized Criminal Enterprise Code for the state of West Virginia, he's actually in violation of that by rewarding them for past criminal behavior. Then, well, there's the fact that I'm stuck with this crap again. There's Sergeant Bailey. Perhaps he's related to the Sergeant Bailey from the police who, state police, who went out and, you know, made sure to took the picture of me to go give it to the media and everything based on those false child porn charges. And then here we are again, who actually, believe it or not, you'll hear recording about this, or part of one. He actually, you know, said I've seen your videos, but he said it in like a derogatory term. Wouldn't let me take a statement. Made lies and excuses to me about how hard it is to get video evidence from the train tunnel and everything else. And well, yeah. And then we have Captain Rogers on here telling me that Sergeant Bailey went to the fire department to get the evidence, but the fire department doesn't have the evidence. Robert Kelly is in charge of that, and he's the IP guy for the Beckley police. I'm not sure. It kind of, it almost scares me a little bit how incompetent these guys are. Or maybe they're not incompetent, they're just trying to cover up for criminals. But just listen. Beckley police, can you hear the number?
Yes, ma'am. Can you transfer me to Captain Rogers' office?
Turn that up a bit.
Yeah, Captain Rogers, I was trying to find out on how that video went. They're getting the video evidence from that train tunnel went. Video evidence for what happened? The train tunnel where I told you I was assaulted. Said you were going to look into it. I haven't heard from Sergeant Bailey yet. I don't review it. I'll have to wait for him to see it. So okay. Look, here's what I'm going to tell you, Captain Rogers. Him not wanting to get that evidence, especially considering that Robert Kelly's the Beckley Police IT guy, and he can get it real easy. All he's got to do is go and talk and go get it, or you can go get it, or anyone can go get it. And he's not wanting to get it. The fact that he wouldn't even let me file a police report makes him an accessory to the fact. I think he's trying to cover up evidence. I think this is because, well, you know, he didn't like my little politics where Officers Capehart and Stewart tried to set me up. You remember that? I came and talked to you about that before. Yes, and, you did. Yes, and then all that ended up on the internet. And right now, I'm looking at the same criminal misconduct of using snitches and informants to set someone up and to assault them, and the Beckley Police not doing anything about it. I feel that I ordered somebody to go get the evidence and retrieve it. That's monitored by the fire department. If it's on there, he will get it and review it, Mr. Collins, and he was told to do so. So I have every confidence that he'll do that, okay? Okay. All right, sir. Okay, bye-bye.
Now, You heard him. I told him to. I have every confidence he'll do it. It's monitored by the fire department. Yes, monitored by the fire department, not recorded by them. The whole system is maintained by the city. It's only up there for a week, maybe 2 weeks before the system recycles the old footage. So he's going to delay me and keep putting. He's going to delay me and keep putting the evidence, or not the evidence, but the keep waiting and delaying it so that the system can recycle itself and they can't get it. And then, oh, we didn't have anything, and it was this and it was that, and too bad, you're shit out of luck, Mr. Collins. My lawyer has already gotten a subpoena because this whole thing falls back to a threat trying to, come at me because I've already proven where the cops lied and set me up, where the cops falsified evidence against me, where the cops threatened me with, we're going to bring child pornography charges on you. Well, here's the thing about it, all right? They're going to bring child pornography charges on me. Well, they brought them. But I haven't been indicted. 2 indictments have already passed, and I want the 3rd one. I pray that they indict me on the 3rd one. Because when they indict me, here's what happens. Everybody's dirty little secrets comes out. And since this goes back to dirty little secrets held by people in the governor's cabinet, and dirty little secrets held by people in the judges and magistrates and everything else, what we're going to find here is it's going to open up a huge can of worms. It'll be all on court record, all proven in court. They're not going to do that. I don't think they're going to indict me. What'll happen is they won't indict me and try to scrub the whole thing away. Unfortunately, this evidence has already been sent to Booth Goodwin, the federal prosecutor. He's already seen some of this. I don't know if he's seen all of it. I don't remember if I sent him all of it. But he's seen a good bit of it. Now, it's important to note the feds haven't brought any charges against me, and this was an internet thing. So, internet falls under FCC and everything else, so the feds should be charging me, but they're not. This is due primarily to the mishandling of evidence by the police. And the fact that there's nothing on my computers they can really charge me with. The fact that the police went out of their way to cover up and conceal evidence that my uncle was downloading child porn and everything else. But the problem is my uncle was associated with Karen Carlock, who was an informant for Trooper Duckworth, and my uncle is an informant who goes out and does criminal stuff for, not Trooper, but Deputy Jason Redden, or at least my uncle claims. And this comes into an issue because remember how I mentioned Reddens and Lilies? Even when you look at the Teresa Bowling shooting, there was a Deputy Lilly involved, Trooper Duckworth, Trooper Palmatier. Trooper Palmatier said he knew for 2 or 3 years that Teresa Bowlings was afraid that Christopher Bowlings was going to shoot her. They'd already pulled out a gun and brandished a weapon and maliciously wounded her with curling irons and beat on her and everything else, but she was afraid he would get away with it because of his cop buddies. And yet here was Trooper Palmatier, the ability to actually stand up and be a hero, do the right thing, and, go to your buddy and be like, look, dude, I'm sorry. Your actions are bringing this about. This is what she told me. She changes her story, too bad, but for now, I'm taking you in. The hard right over the easy wrong, or at least that's what they preach to us in the Army. I don't know. Maybe the Army's held to a different moral standard than what the fucking state police are. It most definitely appears that way, especially the Beckley police. For those of you who don't know, right now the Beckley police is being investigated by the federal government, the DEA specifically, because there's a missing 15 months worth of drug evidence, which is missing out of the evidence room. Anyway, there's a few other videos and stuff I'm going to put up here, and then we're going to have the recording of me talking to Emmett Pugh tomorrow, and I'm going to see how he wants to deal with this. Like I said, we already have the video evidence. My lawyer already has it. It's just a matter of whether or not the police actually want to get off their ass to go fucking get it. Or if they're going to sit around and try to cover everything up to protect, their criminals and their informants and their snitches who are out doing things for them. Maybe, I don't know, selling 15 months worth of drug evidence, putting it right back on the street. Okay, just like I promised, there was a follow-up to my call with Captain Rogers. I'm going to play this for you. Apparently he's avoiding me. He's out somewhere, whatever. And it's playing from the very bottom here where it says Beckley Police.
Beckley Police Department? Yes, ma'am. Could you transfer me to Sergeant Bailey? I'm not Sergeant Bailey, but Captain Rogers. at their address? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, Eric Rogers is not available. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Captain Rogers, this is Ronald Collins. I was calling to see how you were dealing with that little matter on the closed-circuit cameras down at the train tunnel. But anyway, as I expressed to you last time we talked, Robert Kelly is the IP guy. He's the guy you deal with, not the Beckley Fire Department, which you said. At least that's who my lawyer served a subpoena on to get the footage. But here's the thing, man, all this comes back, it goes back to that thing with Stewart and Capehart and you trying to cover it up and everything. I feel you're trying to do the same thing in this case, and I feel that this is being done so that I'm, when I defend myself, I'm going to be charged with a crime since your department couldn't frame me the last time with Stewart and Capehart. And I'm dealing with the same person. I'm trying to rectify the matter, namely you. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to take this to the mayor and probably the governor, and I'm sending the evidence that I've been gathering to defend myself, because I know this is going to be a preemptive affair, to Booth Goodwin, because I feel the pattern of behavior in this whole situation might go towards his investigation of the Beckley Police Department for the missing drugs. And we'll just let it all play out. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Now, for those who are wondering, again, the Beckley Police Department was implicated in a criminal affair where 15 months worth of drug evidence magically disappeared. Federal prosecutor for the area, Booth Goodwin, is investigating the Beckley Police Department in this matter. Now, the Raleigh County was going to run an investigation into it on their own, and the Beckley Police Department are running an investigation into it on their own. The thing about it is, well, we already see officers covering up for other officers, more importantly, covering up for criminals on the street. It doesn't put much faith in the Beckley Police Department to do their job and to actually investigate. So, I feel the whole pattern of behavior is relevant to the federal prosecutor's investigation, to the DEA's investigation. So I'm going to send it to Booth Goodwin. I'm also going to send it to the mayor, because here's the thing about it. I mentioned the $5 million lawsuit I could potentially have against the city of Beckley just for their police department. $2 million of that comes up under Captain Rogers trying to cover up evidence. So we're going to take a look at this. We're going to see, exactly what happens. The reality of the matter, however, is this. I play a lot of strategy games, and I'm notorious for building massive defenses from which to launch my attacks. And I usually let the computer or whoever I'm playing against run to those defenses and let those defenses wear them down before I send my forces out to counterattack. And when I do this, what tends to happen is, after a while, I don't really consider it, but the computer or whoever I'm fighting has wasted so many resources in trying to attack me and running into those defenses that they've basically ran out of tricks to play. And this is a case of the situation. Physically assaulting me to try to scare me into not putting evidence on the internet to defend myself isn't going to happen. And all this does is it goes back, because here's what you're going to see. I'm going to put a picture up here later on of Ashley Redden that was given to me by Jessica Lilly, showing where Ashley was getting her job at Quality Inn on Harper Road. Now, this is after they found out I was living in Harper Heights, and my best friend's mother, stepmother, aunt, however you want to think of her, Judy, was working at Morgan's, which is the bar attached to Quality Inn. So she gets a job at Quality Inn to stalk me on Harper Road. you see an ongoing pattern here, and then the police are trying to cover this up by taking my computers for some BS terrorist thing, and then when I keep pushing on the matter, they charge me with child pornography because my uncle I caught my uncle, the same police informant who lied on the terrorist charges, downloading child pornography onto my computer, and because I was going to testify on behalf of his son and his ex-wife on catching him doing it, he goes and makes up the big terrorist thing. And then October 26th, the police, Trooper Ephred, goes and gets a second search warrant to remove evidence from the forensics lab that has to be investigated by the forensics lab. So it kind of muddies the waters a bit, because I guess, none of this evidence was supposed to come out with him threatening me or anything else, and it did. And it gets really interesting because you take the Lillys, Daryl Lilly, who's married to Michelle Jennings, DJ and Nathan and Jessica Lilly's father, shows a connection because he also used to run with Bobby Redden, Ashley's dad, and Rodney Wayne Kirk, Leah Kirk's father. And what you see is that, these three people are in association. Then it goes into a more interesting detail, being that Trooper Williams is a cousin to, either a cousin or an in-law, I forget which, but he's related to Bobby Redden, and Trooper Duckworth is married, or his sister married Trooper Williams, which makes him an in-law of, and associated by partisan. Then you have Magistrate Mary Jennings, who's the mother of Michelle Jennings, and then you have, all of this ties in that all these people are associated with each other. Which kind of makes it really suspect that at the time, Assistant Prosecutor Chris Leffler wanted to have everything transferred over to Mary Jennings anyway. He actually filed a motion to have it transferred to Mary Jennings after Duckworth assaulted me in magistrate court. When I was talking to my lawyer, Gary Frazier, it all seems like they were, developing some sort of plot to put me in this little web, and then now I'm starting to decode that web, and they don't like it, and I'm putting the evidence on the internet. Well, as it turns out, we have them covering up evidence, and then covering up more evidence, and the more they try to cover up evidence and threaten me and assault me and everything else, they're proving me right. It's one of those situations where, like, I'm playing one of these role-playing games, like StarCraft or something, and I've built my massive barrier of defenses, and I'm watching the computer throw itself against these defenses, and then after, they've nearly been halfway wiped out after wave after wave after wave of failed assaults, leaving my forces perfectly intact to continue their, to go off on their own. So what we're seeing right now is I'm going to start doing the preemptive attack. I'm going to show you where they're trying to set me up, where they're trying to create the environment by which to bring charges on me, because they couldn't frame me with the Stewart and the Capehart thing. They couldn't falsely arrest or frame my student Marlo Jordan. So now we're starting to watch this whole affair, and we're starting to see it unwind. This is an interesting little update to it, and believe me, this was much worth the black eye. After 5 attempts of trying to set me up, I had to let him the last time actually, make physical contact, and he really couldn't do anything without the help of this big fat guy. I don't know what his name is, but his picture's right there on the profile page of John Nathan Lilly, from where I was tracking that out, where he threatened me over the internet because his dumbass threatened me over top of Facebook. I mean, geez. It just makes you wonder exactly, what these people are thinking. Well, that's the problem. They're not thinking. They're panicking. They're desperate. Okay, as you've just seen, I have a picture of Ashley Redden's profile. Now, I'm blocked off of her profile, and I have no access to it. So how do I know she was working at Quality Inn? Because Jessica Lilly told me. In fact, that if you look on the image, you'll see a tri-peak whatever. That's where she plays that video poker stuff, or was playing it with Brian at the time. We was at her grandmother's house. That's actually the picture of the computer screen from her grandmother's dining room. And what you have is essentially showing where these people have been trying to play both sides. She was trying to help me with the Ashley Redden thing, to find out what evidence I had and what moves I was going to make and everything else. And then going back and then, giving it to her family, and they was going through a little process to try to cut me off and prevent me from doing things. So, she gave me this little tidbit of information to to win my trust. Well, I took it. It didn't win any trust, and I just manipulated the situation, as it were, to get information from them, and at the same time give them false information to go back and tell their people stuff that wasn't accurate, so they weren't really sure of what I was doing. Again, all of this comes down to this, concept of trying to, I don't know, this is almost like information warfare. Fortunately for me, I have that training in ninjutsu, and thankfully, that training has been a benefit to me in this situation, especially the espionage aspect, the Choho Jitsu, the Yonin, the ability to gather information and to deal with things directly in front of people, especially this stuff with the cops. If you notice, I've been building, I have multiple recordings. I'm only putting a few on here for the simple fact that I want the viewers on YouTube to understand, and the rest of the world to understand, that the police aren't doing anything. So I'm doing a preemptive strike of putting this information out there to show where they're trying to cover up evidence, and amazingly it comes back, it keeps coming back over and over again. First it was the Beckley police using Terrence Price, who was an informant for the police. He also had close ties to the Reddens through Travis Rhodes, so he was filtering information back to them. And that became an issue. Then here we have them, Taryn no longer wants to be involved in the whole affair, is not going to try anything since he got proven to be being lying and being a snitch for the police last time, which kind of hurt him because he runs around claiming to be a blood. So I figure the blood's probably got a price on his head at this point in time. So now we have people who've already been called out, Jessica and DJ and Nathan and all them, coming to bear. And it's really interesting because they're going through people I have already identified on my snitch list. Amanda Brewer, they met her through me. Ex-girlfriend came back in my life about the time I was dealing with these people. I tried talking to her and telling her things, but I didn't really trust her, so I dropped hints, and she just wasn't smart enough to pick them up. Then you go back on top of that, and then you have Rachel Farmer, again mentioned on that snitch list of informants for the police, and her family had that issue. Her mother was an informant for Beckley police officers. Her mother's boyfriend was an informant for the Beckley police officers. Her sister Casey Frank is married to this guy John Frank, who was an informant for the police, for the Beckley Police Department, which Casey had ran with Amanda, which might be how they met Rachel. It's a possibility, but there's also the possibility that they were already in that environment to begin with, since they were all informants and stuff dealing with the police to begin with. Already knew each other. As it turned out, DJ already knew Amanda previously. So, and then here you have, Nathan and this big fat bald guy. I don't know what his name is, but he's on Nathan's profile on the video I put up. And, here it is. You see this repeated process. They give me a little bit of information, but they're trying to stay out of it and be the hidden hand in the whole situation and trying to play that middle man between the two and set me up for failure. Well, I'm a little bit smarter than that, so I keep tabs on everything. And even in this case, there's recordings of Sarah Dean where she has repeatedly called me, "Where are you at? What you doing? Where are you at? What you doing?" She even calls me during the whole affair with when I'm talking to Sergeant Bailey. Immediately after my assault. So it goes to show you there's this coordinated effort. and everything. So we're going to look at some of that now, as a matter of fact.
Okay, I was just assaulted by Nathan and some big fat guy. Jessica was driving the car that dropped them off. I didn't really fight back too much because I wanted this to show where they actually hurt me. Basically, you know, kind of took an ass whooping. But I wanted to prove a point with the fact of them assaulting me, trying to do me physical harm, bodily damage, stuff like that. He hit me with something in his hand. Looked like a bolt. I know he had a cigarette lighter in the other hand. And I've been cleaning the blood up with this, so it's not quite as bad as it's like. I don't know if my scalp's bleeding or anything. But it was all caught on the video cameras and that subway tunnel. Now, we get to see how the police are going to deal with it, because you know how Nathan and them bragged about how Mary Jennings will cover for him and everything else. So we're going to see how all this plays out right here. I'm going to record my conversation with the police officer, and we're going to see exactly what all happens and how it happens and what goes on next. But this is where the fun part comes in at. This is where they've threatened me and everything else. I told this to Lieutenant Deeds. He didn't want to do anything about it. In fact, he wanted to protect my pedophile uncle, knowing there's all this criminal activity going on and everything else. Well, these guys are kind of a little bit ticked off because they're the reason all the beans got spilled. So, okay, fine. They threatened me. Now they beat me up. Now what? All they did was prove a point that I'm right. And that's what this is all about. That's what this documentation is all about. I can feel my eye and everything else swelling up. But it comes down to, reality. If I would have fought back more against Nathan, then Big Boy would have jumped in, and I couldn't have took them both anyway. And when, Big Boy thought that Nathan had me down, he jumped in anyway. So, either way, I still got attacked by two people. And it's really funny because, this is what proves my point about the criminality. Everything that I've said has already been proven. They've helped me prove it. I'm very thankful for these guys for doing that. So I'm just going to cut the recording and wait till the cop shows up. All right. That's it for now.
Okay, as you've just seen, I have a picture of Ashley Redden's profile. Now, I'm blocked off of her profile, and I have no access to it. So how do I know she was working at Quality Inn? Because Jessica Lilly told me, in fact, that if you look on the image, you'll see a tri-peak, whatever, that's where she plays that video poker stuff, or was playing it with Brian at the time. We was at her grandmother's house. That's actually the picture of the computer screen from her grandmother's dining room. And what you have is essentially showing where these people have been trying to play both sides. She was trying to help me with the Ashley Redden thing, to find out what evidence I had and what moves I was going to make and everything else. And then going back and then, giving it to her family, and they was going through a little process to try to cut me off and prevent me from doing things. So, she gave me this little tidbit of information to win my trust. Well, I took it. It didn't win any trust, and I just manipulated the situation, as it were, to get information from them, and at the same time give them false information to go back and tell their people stuff that wasn't accurate, so they weren't really sure of what I was doing. Again, all of this comes down to this, concept of trying to, this is almost like information warfare. Fortunately for me, I have that training in ninjutsu, and thankfully that training has been a benefit to me in this situation, especially the the espionage aspect, the Choho Jitsu, the Yonin, the ability to gather information and to deal with things directly in front of people, especially this stuff with the cops. If you notice, I've been building. I mean, I have multiple recordings. I'm only putting a few on here for the simple fact that I want the viewers on YouTube to understand, and the rest of the world to understand, that the police aren't doing anything. So I'm doing a preemptive strike of putting this information out there to show where they're trying to cover up evidence, and amazingly, it comes back. It keeps coming back over and over again. First it was the Beckley police using Terrence Price, who was an informant for the police. He also had close ties to the Reddens through Travis Rhodes, so he was filtering information back to them, and that became an issue. Then here we have them, Taryn no longer wants to be involved in the whole affair, is not going to try anything since he got proven to be being lying and being a snitch for the police last time, which kind of hurt him because he runs around claiming to be a blood. So I figure the Bloods probably got a price on his head at this point in time. So now we have people who've already been called out, Jessica and DJ and Nathan and all them, coming to bear. And it's really interesting because they're going through people I have already identified on my snitch list. Amanda Brewer, they met her through me. Ex-girlfriend came back in my life about the time I was dealing with these people. I tried talking to her and telling her things, but I didn't really trust her, so I dropped hints, and she just wasn't smart enough to pick them up. Then you go back on top of that, and then you have Rachel Farmer. Again, mentioned on that snitch list of informants for the police, and her family had that issue. Her mother was an informant for Beckley police officers. Her mother's boyfriend was an informant for the Beckley police officers. Her sister Casey Frank is married to this guy John Frank, who's an informant for the Beckley Police Department, which Casey had ran with Amanda, which might be how they met Rachel. It's a possibility, but there's also the possibility that they were already in that environment to begin with, since they were all informants and stuff dealing with the police to begin with. Already knew each other. As it turned out, DJ already knew Amanda previously. So, and then here you have, Nathan and this big fat bald guy. I don't know what his name is, but he's on Nathan's profile on the video I put up. And, here it is. You see this repeated process. They give me a little bit of information, but they're trying to stay out of it and be the hidden hand in the whole situation and trying to play that middle man between the two and set me up for failure. Well, I'm a little bit smarter than that, so I keep tabs on everything. And even in this case, there's recordings of Sarah Dean where she has repeatedly called me, "Where are you at? What you doing? Where are you at? What you doing?" She even calls me during the whole affair with when I'm talking to Sergeant Bailey. Immediately after my assault. So it goes to show you there's this coordinated effort and everything. So we're going to look at some of that now, as a matter of fact.
What was the name of the guys you said did it to you again now? I don't know what that guy's name is. White guy? Yeah. White, bald. Well, like you said, you've pretty much seen my video, so he's pictured on there on one of them on Facebook. Hey, John, what are you doing, man? Y'all had problems before then? Working hard or what? Yeah, it took me a minute. It's been a little bit hard to explain, what you doing, man? Just working hard or what? Not really, but then... Yeah, I'm running around backwards. Like I said, it's kind of messed up situation. Initially, problems with him, no, but then it kind of set me up for law and all of a sudden... Is that right? Okay. Then we had problems. Alright, now what's his name? First name is John. You gotta have something. Yeah, they got it down. Bill Nathan. Okay. That's what he generally goes by. Okay. Just a video. Last name is know where John lived at? No. The gold color. Basically just calculated. No, the only thing I heard was his sister Jessica saying that getting the car. So she was with him driving it? I guess. I don't know. Really. you in a while. It's been a little bit. I'm around. Obviously somewhere. Yeah, somewhere. They try to hide me. I'm not even. I look prettier.
Okay, if you was in the tunnel, where was she at in the car?
She was. Still got the same I've seen her. She's from running back from where the storage buildings are. I don't know if the car was parked down that way or further down the road or what.
So you think they saw you walking on the rails trails and you drove up through there? Is that what you're telling me? They come up.
I seen a girl earlier that looked kind of like Jessica. See a setting on the trail, and then
because I literally just drove through there.
Yeah, she right after it all happened.
No, right before.
Right before?
Had to be right before.
Okay.
Because I literally drove through there, down, turned around, and be right back.
Oh, okay. Like I said, last night, this other girl, Sarah Dean, was calling DJ John's brother, talking about the whole thing, talking about now's the perfect time to get me because I was at my friend's apartment down there in City Avenue, drinking with them. And then DJ said something about revenge, they should best serve cold and pay back his bitch. All that.
You don't live on Airwood Street?
No, not really.
Where are you living at then? What's your right address?
Right now I don't have one. I'm kind of in between places.
So if I were to find you, where am I going to find you at?
It depends, like different places. I was staying on Harper Road, and lately I've been staying in Crabwood.
Okay, do you have a phone number?
Yeah, 304-860-0878.
Do you know a phone number I can get a hold of John? Or any of them? No address, no nothing, no none.
No,
you know where they hang out?
The last place they've been hanging out was down at, that I know of, they've been coming around Mike Jones' apartment a lot. It's down there on City Avenue. I forget the name of the apartment. Probably the apartment number, but it's First Property Solutions. It's upstairs in First Property Solutions.
Okay, if you go upstairs, then which way is it?
Like when you first walk through
the door, you go up straight steps.
Yeah, straight steps, turn right, and then that hallway with the double doors.
And that's where John lives, right?
No, that's where Mike Jones is.
That's where Mike Jones
Yeah, they've been coming over. That's who I was visiting.
But Mike Jones had nothing to do with none of this?
No. That would be Sarah Dean or LaRue or whatever her name is. Her married name is LaRue or maiden name is Dean. Like I said, she was on the phone to DJ or Nathan or one of them last night talking about the whole thing. And she thought I was drunk, and I wasn't that drunk. I just kind of paid attention, realized what was going on, and left. And then I came back today to see Mike, his phone, because he's got it through cable. And if it shows whenever somebody calls, I was going to see if the caller ID would show if it was outgoing calls or any other calls. So because it was outgoing, I could show where she had called him, the whole thing with where they were getting trouble and everything else. Because I've had a lot of problems with this before, and well, like you said, you've seen the videos, so they were mentioned in the stuff I gave them.
And what I'm going to play for you is the recording of Little Miss Sarah Dean. Like I showed on the one recording, my phone shut off recording the video because she called. And you actually hear me talking to Sergeant Bailey. I had her on speakerphone. And this is what we have.
Hello?
Hi, what are you doing?
When did all this happen, bud? Not much. I'm standing down here talking to the police.
Why?
This is Sarah. That's the name.
Why? Are you standing there talking to the police force?
Well, I'll talk to you about that later. All right, bye.
Alright, bye.
Now, right after I get done talking about her calling me and trying to find me and check up on me and everything else, so Nathan can set up his little ambush, which I already knew was going on. So yeah, it just really, I mean, honestly, are you kidding me? Are you that transparent? You jeez. Well, as you can tell, I have multiple recordings. There's a lot more evidence on here and a lot more things that falls into it. What it comes down to is this: the Beckley police are protecting criminals. Criminals who I don't know, or maybe carrying out certain crimes for them. Maybe the missing 15 months of drug evidence is just more drugs that these criminals, under the direction of the Beckley police, put right back out on the street. There's a lot of this information is getting sent to Booth Goodwin, who's the federal prosecutor. He's investigating the thing, as well as the Beckley police are running their own internal investigation, trying to cover up evidence and protect each other and everything else. Well, when they try to sweep everything under the rug, I don't know how Mr. Goodwin's going to react to it. I don't know if he's going to play along and let it get swept under the rug, or I don't know if he's going to try to make, a career, a massive career win out of this and just bring a bunch of people down and start investigating. But you're already seeing a pattern of behavior of cops falsifying evidence, of cops covering up for cops falsifying evidence, of cops ignoring evidence and making excuses about getting evidence and everything else to keep from getting evidence, and therefore becoming accessories to the fact of criminal undertakings. And it gets really interesting when you're talking about John Nathan Lilly. He always goes by Nathan. It's really interesting when you're talking about Nathan and his brother DJ, because they're the ones bragging about we can do what we want because we're families, cops, and they give us a heads up, and they'll bust the our competition and shit, but they'll leave us alone. Or my stepmommy is Mary Jennings' daughter, and she'll cover up for me. And it's really interesting because you can tell by their father, Daryl Lilly, former president of the Avengers, who used to run with Bobby Redden, again, who's related to Ashley, or not, of course, related to Ashley, that's her dad, but related to Trooper Williams, who is Trooper Duckworth's brother-in-law, and Rodney Wayne Kirk, who ran with Daryl Lilly and Bobby Redden. All of them are key to association, since Bobby and Daryl and Rodney were also apparently running with Michelle Jennings, who was Mary Jennings' daughter, before Daryl Lilly married her, divorced his wife Pam Lilly, and then married Michelle Jennings. What you see here is a pattern of association. And when you get back to my case, the victims were two of the three people involved that I mentioned: his daughter, Rodney Wayne Kirk, and Bobby Redden, and Duckworth, an in-law, an associate of both of them, is involved. Chris Leffler, the assistant prosecutor, wants to put it in front of Mary Jennings, and Mary Jennings is an associate of both of these two gentlemen in the past. Her daughter associates with them and everything else, so they're all really close friends. And it's really interesting that the people who made this possible for me to get this information, Jessica and DJ and Nathan and all them, they're out here trying to keep me from putting this information out and saying anything about it because they're scared. Maybe they're in trouble. Maybe someone threatened them. I don't know. But it seems rather interesting. The police are out here trying to protect them while they're, running around assaulting me and everything else. And I realize after, the stunts I pulled, I have a price on my head. I understand that, But it's like this. When I go showing that the whole reason for the police to put this out there, I mean, think about it. Sergeant Bailey from the state police puts out this. They charged me with the child pornography stuff. Plasters it all over the news. But I've gone through 2 terms of indictment and haven't been indicted. Please, Christine Keller, if you're watching this, indict me on the 3rd term. I might even talk to my lawyer about waiving the indictment process just so we can go to court. Because I want to start throwing some of this stuff out there in front of a jury. And I want it on court record. That might be the way I need to go. But anyway, and we're starting to see this criminality manifesting itself. People I put on a complaint to Lieutenant Deeds as people who I knew to be informants working for the police. Sarah Dean, DJ Lilly, Nathan Lilly, Jessica Lilly, Amanda Brewer. These are the same people that are involved in this at this point in time now. And, either a year ago I predicted this, or not even a year ago. I guess it was about, God, not even that. It feels like a year ago. So much has gone on. But I guess 3-4 months ago, 6 months ago, I guess. Maybe, yeah, about 7, 8 months ago. I predicted this. That I put these people down. I mentioned that their involvement with me would be seen as police harassing me and everything else, and that's what I wrote in my complaint to Lieutenant Deeds. And now here these people are, 7, 8 months later, carrying out threats and everything else. So it's kind of strange. It's very odd, and as you can tell, there's no real animosity between me and Sarah. I just don't know why she's trying to set me up for failure. But that's just the way it is. Uh, and another interesting thing to note on this is, my whole situation. There's a little detail that no one knows about. When Ashley, when me and Ashley had our little dispute in Walmart, and I cussed her out at the MacArthur Walmart, and she, I went in there, and this whole thing occurred. Right after these three guys, as a couple days after these three guys come up and told me that Ashley said I raped her and they were going to beat my ass and everything, and then backed down from it when they realized I wasn't going to back down. That Sarah comes up telling me the same story, which is why I went to go talk to Ashley. Well, I left Sarah's involvement out of this. I pretended to be madder than what I was because I figured she was coaxing me, and just mannerisms and everything else. The more I pretended like I was pissed off and mad and stomping and wanting to go off, the more she was laughing about it and had a big smile on her face and thought it was funny. And you don't realize this, but, well, actually, she didn't realize this. You, the viewer, are going to realize this. I'm a little bit craftier than what people, and I'm a good actor. I play my roles. So in that case, I played this role of being upset and everything. I went to go talk to Ashley. I tried to do it calmly initially, and then when Ashley started jumping around and getting all loud and accusing me, that kind of ticked me off, and I pushed it a little bit myself. But the reality of the matter is, I knew they were prompting me to do this, and I had to do this for a number of reasons. Part of it was the fact that Ashley had already put herself in danger, at least what I feel was putting herself in danger, by getting in contact with me when my last month of house arrest, staying in contact with me for 6 months after that. And she left this paper trail of phone records and everything else that show that, which is, kind of funny, where the building's getting burnt down and the phone records aren't showing up and the prosecutor doesn't want to allow me to have the phone records. And it seems really strange that what we're looking at here is, excuses, trying to conceal evidence of wrongdoing. And that's exactly what we're going to bring up when we have our little evidentiary hearing here coming up soon. And we're going to see some more stuff probably put on YouTube. But I wanted to put this out here preemptively because, if something happens and I get attacked and the cops want to charge me with something, make up some bullshit about, oh, your hands should be registered as lethal weapons because you're trained in martial arts, or you broke someone's arm, or so-and-so says that you were at fault, or whatever, because they're out here trying to cover up and conceal the fact that there's an ongoing pattern of threats and assault and harassment from these people. I want to preemptively put this out here. And I want to address another matter. This is a really important one as well. If you think about this, these people are putting themselves in danger. They're putting society in danger because they're playing these little politics on the battlefield bullshit games, which is the same thing, which is one of the reasons I left the Army. I dealt with a few... I had a platoon sergeant that was bad for this, and a few squad leaders in my platoon that were bad for this. They wanted to play politics on the battlefield. They wanted to promote people that they had a personal accord with, or they liked personally, or they wanted to have their own little selective groups and not put the Army, not put the mission first, but put their own goals and needs and likes and dislikes and everything else first. And that was an issue that I feel was that I didn't want to deal with. I didn't always deal with this. I actually had several very good platoon sergeants that didn't do this. That when squad leaders tried doing this, they put them in their place on it because, like they say, we all bleed green. But at the same time, you're talking about, you know, this manifestation of, I guess you would call it corruption, buddy system, whatever, where our criminals can do what they want, but no one else can. And it shows a criminality, which explains why there's 15 months worth of missing evidence. It explains, the massive cover up and the massive amount of different stories following the Chucky Smith. I don't want to say murder. He got shot trying to rob a drug dealer. There was no bust. The original story was that him, his mistress, and the chief of the Beckley police were bar hopping in a unmarked police vehicle, and that they went to this guy's house and they were there to make the buy, and this guy apparently, his side of the story is that he seen Chucky's gun and shot him because he thought he was going to get robbed. And either way, this guy comes out and he's blasting away at the chief of the Beckley police in the car and everything. So the Beckley police chief drives off and leaves Chucky's mistress out there getting shot at by a cracked up drug dealer. And we're seeing a revolving pattern here. We've already seen it with the state police in my videos. We've already seen it with the other stuff. And the more I expose this, the more they feel they're threatened. So the more they try to do things to harm me or to discredit me or to attack me. And the more they attack me, the more I turn it against them. Even the 5 attempts by Nathan to pull me out and ambush me. On the 5th time, I gave him the option. I let him do it. I let him prove that he had the intention of doing me bodily harm and doing me physical harm and everything else, because all of those other attempts prior to that, all those threats prior to that are verbal assaults. They're stalking, they're harassment. They're charges the Beckley police can lay against him, but they're not going to because he's their criminal. He's their informant. He's their little snitch. In the train tunnel, he said, me putting this stuff on the internet was me snitching. Well, no, it's not me snitching. It's a public service announcement. It's me putting you on front for being a fucking snitch, for falsifying evidence and framing people for the police so they can come out and be their big fucking heroes and pretend to be such big fucking heroes when all they are is nothing more than criminals in uniform. And you're proving that. The Beckley police are proving it. Sergeant Bailey is proving it. Captain Rogers is proving it. And you know what? There's probably going to be a problem video to this because I'm dropping information off to Booth Goodwin. I'm dropping a statement off for Captain Rogers himself, and I'm taking one to the mayor. In fact, I'm going to go to Booth Goodwin. I'm going to go to the mayor before I do or the mayor's office, City Hall, before I have anything to do with sending anything to Captain Rogers. I'll just drop that off on the front desk and they can give it to him. I really don't care. But Booth Goodwin and the mayor is far more important at this time for me.